Welcome to Frickin' History. Tell me Andrew Jackson looks like the guy that you woke up, got him out of bed, and he is so ticked off about it. If you haven't seen pictures, Google that. But maybe it was South Carolina that annoyed him so much, and John C. Calhoun, maybe that's why he looks so angry. Again, we're talking about these debates over the federal government and what they can do during this time of Andrew Jackson's presidency. And if you're going to talk AJ, you got to talk nullification. The southern states relied on products that were coming from abroad, and so tariffs were actually hurting the cost of those goods to those individuals, and the folks in South Carolina wanted some relief. And so this is where nullification comes in. They decided that if there was a federal law that their courts in the state of South Carolina believed to be unconstitutional, then they would just simply nullify them and not pay them any attention. So that's what South Carolina did to the tariffs. Now, John C. Calhoun, and look up his picture, he looks really angry as well. John C. Calhoun was not a fan of these tariffs. And even though Andrew Jackson wasn't really a fan of these tariffs either, the tariffs of 1828 that were actually implemented by the previous president, which was John Quincy Adams, no one ever changed them either. And that's why the state of South Carolina decided to nullify those tariffs, because they were just decided they were not going to pay for them. That became known as the tariffs of abomination. So as South Carolina was nullifying these tariffs, John C. Calhoun was tasked by Andrew Jackson. Now you have to remember, Jackson was a military man, took no guff from nobody. And he decided to tell Calhoun, you better get your legislatures in the state of South Carolina in line, because if not, we've got this force bill that's coming through. Now, what's the force bill? Because South Carolina decided they were not going to pay for these taxes, Jackson then took a bill to Congress called the force bill, saying, if we need to enforce federal law, then I want to be able to use the military to do so. So the message Jackson gave to Calhoun was, you better get them under control or I'm going to hang them. And the state legislature of South Carolina eventually backed down and settled for a smaller lowering of the tariffs, but the tariffs were still in place. But South Carolina is like that annoying little sibling that you have, always trying to get the last word or the last shot in. And that's what they did. South Carolina had to let Jackson know they were going to get the last shot in, because then they nullified the force bill. And there you have the nullification crisis. South Carolina's secession was just avoided, but it set the precedence of what was coming in the future. And now you know your freaking history. Peace.